That's an understatement, Matt. I've learnt that the day I met her.
Tell me about this bucket list and the travels that you've done.
Okay, well, we started doing actually family adventures long before our diagnosis, and part of our lifestyle has been family adventures. We travelled extensively throughout Europe, Africa, even America, Middle East. We lived in the Middle East for 3 years, I should say. Worked over there for 4 years, and never really dawned on us about accessibility travel, until Suzanne's diagnosis. Then we decided that we were going to fulfil some more of our bucket list, and Suzanne always wanted to go to New York, and we wanted to do some other stuff. And but the further the disease progressed, the harder it was for us to travel. And I couldn't believe, being in the real estate and development world, that we didn't cater for disability travel. It took about 4 to 5 weeks of just investigating before we actually felt comfortable enough to actually jump on a plane, jump in a car to actually do that adventure. And we were let down on many occasions by things like the doors weren't wide enough for Suzanne's chair to go through, a fully disabled villa that we hired in Turkey, except for the 5 or 6 steps to get into it. None of the doors were wide enough, and the lift, we had to take Suzanne's footrests off to actually get her in the lift, press the button and run up the steps to actually get her to exit the elevator. No one else could fit.
Remarkable. I want to talk more about the specifics of all of this, but you just said something that really struck a chord with me. When you were talking about the diagnosis, you didn't talk about Suzanne's diagnosis, you spoke about our diagnosis. This is something that you do as a unit.
That's correct.
This idea of a family owning it. It's quite beautiful, quite touching, and quite lovely.
Well, it has affected our whole family. We have a son who's 17, 2 weeks ago. Our other 2 daughters, who they've done a lot of travel as well. And it affects all of us because we all have to come together as a unit. We all plan as a unit. We all work to make sure our ventures still continue. Because if they don't continue, then we've lost our dynamic.
That smile that I just saw on Suzanne's face of a kind of humble gratitude, it spoke volumes. It was quite beautiful. The discrepancy of what's classed as accessible. Tell me about Suzanne Stays, what you've launched and what it's all about.
Well, it's basically a one-stop shop for a travel enabler for anyone with mobility restrictions. That includes elderly people with wheelchair disabilities, people just with any mobility disability. We just found it ironic that there wasn't one platform that we could actually go there and book our holidays and felt comfortable enough that our equipment would be there, our equipment that we took with us would fit. Prime example is most probably a large percentage of all hotels in Australia have a disability room but don't have a wet chair for when you have someone in a wheelchair to actually give them a shower. So if you don't take 2 wheelchairs with you or another chair with you, you just can't have a shower in that disability room. And it's just little things that we found like that. Even the beds that we take for granted in most hotels, which are very comfortable, but we can't fit a hoist underneath them, so we can't use those beds.
There's a bit to think about, isn't there?
A lot to think about, yeah.
How does Suzanne Stays actually work, though? What's the nitty-gritty?
So we've built a booking portal that people can put their properties on once they go through our criteria, and we've ticked off our architectural guidelines that we've actually produced, and we know that 90% of all people should be able to utilise them with a lot less stress, a lot less pain. They'll know when they turn up, what to do, what they look for. But we also have a investment arm that we've set up. We will actually go buy units for Suzanne Stays, or people can put their own properties in on Suzanne Stays. Shows a return very similar to other booking portals.
Sort of a specialised Airbnb type thing.
Very much so. So it's not only does it provide an income, it provides we call it a investment with meaning. So it actually provides our community, people with accessible issues, a place where they can comfortably go on a vacation or go to stay for work or anything that they need to leave their home for.
What sort of organisations have jumped on board? Have you had much support or much of a response yet?
Very much so. Everyone from M&D and Me, MS Australia, Spinal Australia. We've had some of my dear friends who are in the development world have jumped on board. We've had people who run very, very large property trusts help me set up the property trust so people can be comfortable when they invest that they know their money or their superannuation is actually going to not only towards a good thing, it actually shows a return as well.
Tell me about the portal, because the idea of it seems to have evolved somewhat beyond merely accommodation, suitable accommodation. It's a hardware portal too.
Yeah, so the portal itself is for somebody with any accessibility problems can book their specialised equipment on there. It will be delivered prior to their turn up, and it'll be picked up after. So if it's a hoist that they require, one of our third-party suppliers will actually deliver the hoist to their specifications because they will be made contact with prior to them turning up. The portal itself is called Suzanne Stays, SUZANNE.com. It's the only portal that we can find that actually is eye gaze friendly, 100% eye gaze friendly, which means...
What do you mean?
Which means if someone has lost their ability with their hands, that they can't use a mouse for their computer, there's a piece of hardware that they can hire, buy, or some of their relevant organisations actually have donated, where they use their actual eyeballs to use as the mouse.
No.
So it has a cursor that it follows your eyes.
I want one of these for me.
Well, it's actually quite interesting because they've developed the hardware and the software, but the portals themselves, because they have imagery, your eyeballs will naturally go to the images all the time. And if they have flicking imagery, not that it doesn't work, it just makes it difficult for the eye gaze to work. So we developed Suzanne Stays where the user can actually turn off all the imagery if they require. And also it'll adjust their font size, so when you log back in, it'll remember you, and the font size will be to your specification.
This is a story that keeps on giving. I love it. I love it. You've got the determination, Suzanne. You've got the motivation to make this work, don't you?
It's actually a team effort.
A team effort.
Yeah.
I reckon you'd probably deflect off each other all afternoon. The bucket list, Suzanne. Do your best with this. Where do you want to see next? Where do you want to go?
We did attempt to go to Cairo earlier this year.
Cairo, Egypt. Yeah.
But we had to change our plans to do
Flight issues.
Yeah, right.
So now I'd say Broome, Kagadu, Dar.
So now it's going to be a lot more domestic
I heard
adventures.
Broome mentioned.
And Kakadu.
Well done to you. Well done. Will it happen?
We will try our best to make it happen.
You'll try your darndest.
Yeah.
Good luck with it. I appreciate it's a significant effort for you all to be here today. It's wonderful to meet you, and good luck. You do amazing.